Sky News host Rowan Dean joins me now. Rowan, thanks for coming on tonight. The BBC boss believes he can and should keep his job. What do you think?
Great to be with you, James. Yeah, this is hilarious because it's the same playbook the ABC here always use. You know, they deny, first of all, oh, no, there's no problem. Then they sort of deflect and then they come up with other excuses and then they push it away, hoping the story will go away. But let's be really clear here, James. That character, that repulsive Bob Vylan, I mean, what an insult to the great name of Bob Dylan that this creep tries to co-opt his name. But anyway, that's a different story. This Bob Vylan character is yelling death to the IDF. Now, that's not death to, you know, some abstract military machine or whatever. This is death to boys and girls, teenagers, young men and women who join the military through conscription. In Israel, everyone has to compulsorily spend some time in the army. So you're talking about young men, young women serving their country. This bloke is calling for them to be killed directly. On top of that, he's calling for the death of the people that those people in the IDF are defending. The everyday babies, kids, and so on in Israel. So this bloke calling for mass murder, instigating mass murder is your, incentive to violence, incentive to kill, incentive to murder, as grotesquely as you can imagine it being. So this is so serious. Yet this clown, the head of the BBC, is sitting there in the crowd, possibly even cheering along. Who knows? Maybe he was just waving a flag, or maybe he was sitting there eating popcorn. Who knows? But what will happen, James, is that he will do nothing until the political pressure gets so great, but he'll probably still avoid stepping down. He might have to step down. There's a lot of anger about this in Britain. But the other thing which this puts pressure on, of course, James, is the BBC licence fee. So unlike here in Australia, in Britain, you pay a compulsory license of some $300 or $400 a year. Everybody who owns a television set has to pay it, and they have vans driving around monitoring signals from houses, and they break down the door, or not quite, but to demand that you pay your money for your TV license. And a lot of people object to this, quite rightly. So this will put pressure, more pressure on people saying, we've had enough of this. We do not want to be paying our BBC license. By the way, James, the BBC is a £5 million a year business.
Absolutely incredible. I can't believe he would be able to keep his job after that debacle. I want to talk to you about Elon Musk, because he's defeated Australia's e-safety commissioner in a legal stoush over a tweet that suggested a trans activist belonged in a mental ward. The remark might have been impolite, but we now know it wasn't illegal to say that. Julie Inman-Grant, our nation's self-appointed guardian of online feelings, demanded the post be scrubbed from the internet, but Musk held his ground, and the Administrative Review Tribunal agreed the tweet did not constitute cyber abuse, so it can stay online. So Rowan, here's my thing with this, right? The only sour note, it's a good news story, but the sour note is it's taken a foreigner, rather than say, oh, I don't know, a Liberal politician in this country, to stand up to our censorious government.
You're 100% correct, James. And it's not just one foreigner, it's two foreigners. Chris Ellison, the Billboard Chris, as viewers know him, he'll be on Outsiders on Sunday morning. Chris is the bloke who instigated all this, and simply by pointing out that Australia was sending to the World Health Organization, presumably on a fairly hefty salary, as an envoy on transgenderism, a character who, well, let's say that, according to Chris Ellison, not really the most savoury character to be representing Australia. That's what the court case was all about. That's why Julie Inman-Grant censored the tweet. And Chris fought it, and has fought it successfully. So here you have, James, you have not only two foreigners, Elon Musk and Billboard Chris, fighting for Australia's freedom of speech. You have another foreigner, the American Julie Inman-Grant, despite the fact that she was born in the land of the First Amendment, seems to be quite happy not to apply the values of the First Amendment to Australians. She even went so far as to say, well, the First Amendment doesn't exist in Australia, so she's quite happy to censor it with that knowledge. This is so pathetic that, as you say, James, Australia's political figures on the right have let this go through. Not only let this go through, they supported it. Malcolm Turnbull, Morrison, Peter Dutton, all supported this Julian Mann Grant, this e-safety commissioner. They praised her, they chose her, and then they supported her. All Albanese has done is run along the same path. And this is why the Liberal Party is in such dire straits now. If the Liberal Party cannot understand the most fundamental precept of conservative / right-wing / liberal / libertarian, whatever you want to call it, politics, the right to free speech and the importance of parents having a say, not governments telling you what to think and believe. If the Liberals can't even get that into their skulls, then I'm afraid there's not much hope for them.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. All right, I want to talk to you about one more issue back in the UK, and I just think this story is hilarious. The UK government's website, they've changed their logo. They've spent £500,000 redesigning the logo. And I'll show you what they got for it. They've moved the dot in gov.uk from its position at the bottom of the letters to halfway between them. But, Rowan, that's not the craziest part of it. They've written a 150-page document explaining the reason they've repositioned the dot. Just when you thought Australian bureaucracy was bad, what do you make of that?
Well, James, you're right to laugh at it, but I think it's about time that the humble dot got elevated in the world. I think the dot for too long has been left at the bottom of the line, ignored. You've got underscoring over the hyphen. There's all sorts of things the hyphen can do, but the old dot is just the dot. Not any longer. Now the dot has got that little bit, can hold its head high and walk around, and look at me, I'm in the middle there now. The trouble is, James, the trouble here is that there will be a lot of people, namely like myself, who struggle with the intricacies of the internet and will now assume that there must be a higher dot somewhere else that I should be pressing when I do gov.uk. So there will be all these elderly people, these pensioners and so on, who are sitting around completely confused now about how to put their dot into their gov.uk. But James, here's the kicker. You mentioned the cost of this thing. Well, this is all part of a £750,000 campaign, or what do you call it, account, that Saatchi, Morris and Charles Saatchi, M&C Saatchi, the great advertising duo, they won this account. They moved the dot up, but these are the same team who were responsible for the most brilliant political campaign ever, which was, of course, Labour Isn't Working, which got Margaret Thatcher elected. These were the Morris and Charles were absolute political geniuses, and Margaret Thatcher used to look to them for advice. So I can't help thinking, they were responsible for, in many ways, for much of her success. I can't help thinking maybe they were taking the mickey a little bit when they thought, oh, hang on, let's take this account, this government account, let's move the dot up and let's take a nice, healthy £750,000 while we're at it.